Welcome to this live webinar, guys. How are you? Okay, today what are we talking about? Okay, we're talking about application security, but let me give you an introduction. Customer obsession, cost effectiveness, easy adoption, and tangible impact were among the key factors that helped the SaaS industry establish itself in the initial years. But today, as the SaaS industry continues to build on accelerated growth, application security has taken center stage as a key growth enabler for companies. In today's webinar, we have with us security and SaaS business leaders who will be sharing their experience with us, okay? And they will be talking about bringing greater flexibility to businesses, best practices, and more. I'm going to introduce our panelists. I've got Venkatesh Sundar, founder and CMO of Induspace. How are you, Venkatesh?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Vishal.
Okay. I have to give a little bit of introduction to Venkatesh as well. Venkatesh has played a key role in taking Induspace's application security products from 0 to 1,000 plus customers. As a CTO, he built the technology team from the ground up and entire total application security suite. Currently, he is a CMO. He's responsible for global revenue growth. Prior to Induspace, Venki has held management roles in engineering, services, and sales in US-based product companies. Next, we move on to Nath Parmeshwaran, my good old friend. Nath is Director, Corporate Affairs for PayPal in India. He is responsible for driving advocacy, strategy, and public policy in e-commerce and online payments for PayPal with regulators, government, stakeholders, and trade organizations. He's got a story or two to talk about government. Hi, Nath. How are you?
Very good. Thanks. Happy to be here, Vishal, on your story again.
Thank you. I've got Pravanjan Chaudhary, who's the CTO of Capillary Technologies, one of my early favorite companies. They've done very well over the last decade. Pravanjan has been responsible for taking the company's product vision forward and has been the chief architect of the company's data-driven technology stack. I've got Hari Shankaran with me. Hi, Hari, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here, Vishal.
And for those of you who know Hari, Hari is popular. He's the co-founder and CTO at HackerRank, a technology hiring platform, of course. Before building HackerRank, Hari worked with IBM and Nobel in Bangalore. I've also got one of my recent favorites, and we all have common as investors, Darwinbox. I've got Prithvi Raju Alluri, who's the head of infrastructure and security at Darwinbox, of course. Hi, Prithvi, how are you?
I'm good, Vishal. Thanks for inviting me to this forum.
Prithvi has over 15 years of experience. He's worked with the likes of Wipro, Sapient, NetEnrich, and F5 Networks. So guys, let's get into the brass tacks of why everybody is waiting for this webinar. Okay, they want to know what application security is all about. You know, I'm assuming that our audience is new to application security. I'm going to let Venkatesh take that question. Venkatesh, why is security of applications more important for SaaS businesses than others today?
Thanks, Vishal. I think the SaaS topic and the forum through USTD to address SaaS companies is the best platform to answer that question. I mean, unlike other business, for SaaS business, if you remove the application, there is no business. I mean, by definition, a SaaS business, central to that business is the application. It's a SaaS application that is driving the entire business, right?
Correct.
So hence, anything that comes in the way of the business, including security, becomes a complete impact for their business. So that's why it's a little bit different. Like, unlike a brick and mortar company where they have one application that's an enabler for something that the company does. SaaS, that is not the case, right? And the challenges for SaaS are certainly a lot more different than other traditional businesses. So I think SaaS, fundamentally we have to understand that for a SaaS business application, if you remove the application, there is nothing about the company.
That is very true. That is a good start to the whole topic. Prithvi, I mean, is there a need to rethink the way SaaS companies look at security today? This question's open to Hari and Pravanjan, of course, too. How should one look at security today?
So the way the security assessment tools, so the security tools are built, I would say are not evolved to the current technologies that are being adopted to build SaaS platforms today, right? So APIs are core of any SaaS application, and with the growing number of threats hackers are trying to inject the API traffic, trying to inject the way APIs are being used. Unfortunately, the tools that are existing today are not built for that. So there's definitely a scope to rethink how we look at the traffic, how we protect the data, protect the traffic.
What do you mean by how do you protect the data in terms of, you said there will be a lot of injections into the traffic, right? What do you mean by that?
So let me use an example here.
Yes, please.
The legacy tools are built on an old application or an application that is built before 2015 or 2010, right? Let's use this example of an office building, right? A building where and it's easy to lock it. A fire alarm would protect it, right? But the new SaaS applications, it's like an open park, right? Where there are a lot of people flowing in, a lot of vendors flowing in, a lot of persons coming in, flowing out, right? Now it's like building a solution or building a security layer for the SaaS application is someone standing and understanding who's coming in, who's going out, and understanding how do we audit it, how do we ensure that only right people are coming and going out. So I would use that example. Now with that example set, there's a certain need in understanding the way the traffic is being injected into the SaaS platform, and there's a lot of customization that is needed on the legacy tools that we use, but unfortunately it's not available in the market as of today.
Okay.
There's a lot of hard work that is needed.
Okay. Hari, would you agree with the statement that, for application security, we need to look at a modern way of rethinking this whole thing? Security has been around for a long time. I mean, it's ever since the internet became popular, we've all been talking about several application security. But what does application security mean to you, and why is it critical for an organization, a SaaS company? And Pravanjan, this question is open to you also. And if you guys want to ask questions, interject, please raise your hand. I'm going to bring you in.
Sure. I agree with the things which Prithvi mentioned. And the way things is different for a SaaS business is that you probably have to bring that security in the core culture.
Yes.
It's not a separate team's effort. It's not like one team is going to build the product and give it off to other. Like you can have a separate QA team, but you can't have a separate security team. Every single person is they should be involved in the security. And there are a very few things for which you can say, like, I don't have time. Like if for customers and security, that should be on top. Like others, you can say, okay, I'm not going to build this feature. There's always this prioritization trade-off, and there is so many things to do, and there are only so little time, or only this is my team's bandwidth, and so on. We need to have that culture where security never drops below because you don't have the time and effort. And when that comes in, keeping your system up to date with the latest technology, everyone pushing forward for security, all of that happens. So as we built HackerRank from the small 2-member startup to now 200 folks, that has been one common theme we try to push. What tools we use, technology is later part, but is everyone aligned? When you say this is a security issue, is everyone saying, yes, this makes sense, this should go in, and then comes the rest? That's one core thing I believe should happen. Yeah, Venkat.
Venkatesh, go on, you were saying.
Yeah, on Hari's point, I would add, I think it's because of the growth of SaaS company and agile development and speed at which they have to innovate, that this term of DevOps, previously it used to be dev, operations used to be separate, then the term DevOps, dev and ops be one unit. Now the new term is DevSecOps, development, security, and operations. And it doesn't mean that you do everything, but from an ownership standpoint, development, security, and operations has to be part of the ownership of the team. I mean, of course, you can have different tools and different things, but DevSecOps is a new buzzword now. It is not security separate in silos and dev separate and ops in silos. Right?
Okay. Pravanjan, based on what these three gentlemen have said, your thoughts, please.
Yeah. So I think one thing I would like to add is particularly in SaaS cloud based, if we narrow down to the domain, it's probably something that is built in the last 5 years or so. And this is, I mean, if the perimeters are pretty much known there, because pretty much what, let's say, HackerRank or something would be built on, right? What technologies they would use, what cloud they would use, what could be potential applications they would use. So the perimeters were known. In the good old on-prem world, there was a lot of proprietary aspects to it. People would build something and keep it to themselves. But in the SaaS world, and you pretty much know the perimeter is pretty much exposed out there. But at the same time, also the remediation techniques and the security tools are also plenty. So you can't, for the sake of agility and all of that, since most of the things are moving to cloud as well as SaaS, the perimeters opens up, but similarly the remediation tools as well. So you need to be on your feet too. You can't ignore the remediation techniques, and hence the security of that aspect becomes very important.
Okay, I want you to talk about the culture that Hari spoke about. I think Prithvi, you should also have what is that culture of security that you're building around your team? Because I was talking to Zoe earlier, the management at Zoe, and they were saying every application that they build goes to a red team, a security team that tries to hack into their product and application. Only if it clears this team will they release a product. Is that culture so important for Indian companies to think of? Because we have about 200 people watching this, and the audience would love to know what is that culture. Over to you, Pravanjan. Prithvi, take it first, then we can move on to Pravanjan. Yes, please.
So, just like Venkatesh and Hari said, it is very important to inject security into your software development lifecycle. And I would love this word DevSecOps, and that is a new way of dealing with security now. Any small change on, say, you're changing it from hello world to world hello, right? And that needs to be evaluated through a security layer. That is something that is important today. Before you push anything to your prediction. So DevSecOps is the term that everyone should adopt. And we are following that downwards.
Okay. Pravanjan, go on, Venkatesh.
Yeah, just on the point, one more buzzword, too many buzzwords, right? Within DevSecOps, the new buzzword that is coming up is shift left.
Shift left.
Right? Shift left, right? So move your security, move your everything as early in the operations as possible and as continuously as possible. Keep it continuous, keep it adaptive, and it's the term is shift left.
Okay, Pravanjan, go on. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think depending on the industry, you have to be paranoid. If you're healthcare, banking, payments, I think Nath will agree on PayPal. That's the super important where the cost of the breach is you have to assess. For us, it's customer data, consumer data, PI information. So probably super important as well. So depending, but pretty much if you're selling into enterprises, for sure, it's going to be super important. And as Venkatesh was pointing out, shift left is basically catch any vulnerability early. The earlier you catch it, the cost of that is less, right? So if you even include security in your development life cycles, even your IDs and the development environments as well.
Okay.
So pretty much something that is to be paranoid about and always be on top of it. Yeah.
I want to bring PayPal into the picture, but Hari, quickly from your point of view, I would love to know when you started up, right? You said culture becomes important. Does it start with the founder or when you bring in a CTO?
It starts with, I'm the co-founder and CTO. So for us, it started with me. But it starts at the entire E-team level. It's not like a founder or a CTO and so on. The whole leadership team understands the value of security. That's probably where every single org. It's not like the security is important for your engineering, but marketing it's not. No, marketing can also leak the emails, right? Like it's across the board. You need to make sure there is compliance and so on. It changes as the company grows. Like when we were 2-member startup, when it's just 2 founders sitting across the board. It's a different security thing. When you're 200 people in 4 countries, security is a different scale. But the priority, the seat it takes is always the first there.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Nath, going to you, PayPal, global giant. We've all heard of the PayPal mafia and everything. I'm sure that your experience can tell us, why application security is key across markets. Why is it a value differentiator? You can bring in examples from China and also the US and Europe.
One is, I can say that the acknowledgement of the problem is now it's become a boardroom discussion. I don't have to go around preaching to people why security is important, right? Any company, any business where there is some sort of a digital footprint which is going to be important for their business. Doesn't have to be a SaaS company, but SaaS company, it is amplified even further because without the application, it is not their business. But
I want to come back to that also. Hold your thought, because SaaS companies, they're all tech guys, and they may think we know security better than you. I want you to address that challenge. Keep that in your head. I know others can answer that. There are many founders here. Nath, you were talking about the global experience. Please go on.
Instead of just saying, so culture, super important, like Hari said. The other is, don't look at it as cost. It is actually investment. Because if you see it as cost, then it's, you are trying to actually cut corners. Whereas investment, it is going to be structural and very important. Number two, I totally agree, move left or shift left as, our panelist said. The challenge that we have is, how do you make it, as at a design stage, right? And not just security. Okay, how do you make privacy also now, at a design stage? So that is what we'll have to kind of, as an industry, as an ecosystem, strive. Don't treat it as a cost. It has to be culture. It has to be investment. Privacy and security at design. Problems are compounded now, not just because post COVID you have got even your employees and vendors working from home. Okay, it adds a completely new practical dimension to this. So what we have thought about is internally PayPal thinks that it's a cyber security company, okay, not a payments company. Okay, because what we are actually doing is moving money which are quite personal and very, very sensitive and very valuable for each user. It doesn't matter whether it is $1 or $1 million, right? And the scale at which we operate, just makes us paranoid, as Pravanjan said. So we go with the mindset that I am a cybersecurity company. I've got zero trust in my architecture and my systems. That's our going in assumption. Okay, you will guess what? Okay, we are actually not worried about external, hackers trying to get into our systems, or people trying to do the typical DNS attacks and all that.
Why is that? I hope you're not motivating somebody to do it, actually.
No. The thing is that an outside threat is known and easy to deal with. Okay, the number one threat that we are always worried about is insider threat. Okay, the best way to win a battle is to have a Trojan horse inside the enemy camp, and there goes all your security. Okay, so that is what keeps us pushing the envelope in terms of how we think about security as a culture, security by design, privacy as architecture. Just to give you some idea about the scale at which we operate, right? We move, as we speak, about $22,000 a second. Okay, about 33 million transactions a day, 200 markets, 29 million small businesses, and something like 377 million active users. Okay, now when you have to build for that scale and complexity, okay, what we have to actually constantly do is that not only just protect ourselves but also our businesses and our users who can actually create problems for us. So the way we have been able to look at big data and run algos on that, okay, and put a system in place is moving towards more predictive, and things like we have about 2 seconds before actually declining or approving a transaction. Okay, and in that meanwhile I have to actually check probably 1,000 parameters of the user who's trying to send money and somebody who's receiving the money, and make a decision that this is a good transaction to actually go through. What we don't want, the additional challenge that is posed in this kind of very little time that you have, is that you don't want to catch the dolphins and leave the fish. What I mean is that you actually stop the good guys and actually let the bad transactions go. This is the constraint under we operate. So the only way, like all the fellow panelists, said that how do you build it at the design stage, at a culture stage, see it as an investment. And now increasingly we feel that, all of us are together in this. It has to be an collaborative effort, because the people who are trying to bake the system are way too ahead and too smart.
Okay, that's well said. Prithvi, going on, I mean, yes, being smart in cybersecurity actually pays a lot. Also, I hope guys listening to this, it's a very difficult talent thing to bring in. I'll bring that point at some stage in this conversation. Prithvi, you talk to a lot of corporate, and this is to other panelists like Capillary and HackerRank also. Pravanjan, Hari, you can take this. Do the corporates that you sell to, do they look at security as a single most important factor when they work with your applications, or do they say, okay, you've got checkbox here and that's fine, or is it your duty to ensure that everything is fine and not leave it to them in the end, because their networks can be bad, and that And if some breach happens to your application through their network, who do they blame? That's something I had in mind. It's open to Pravanjan, Hari. Venkatesh, you could sum up that conversation, okay?
Yeah, sure.
So in the SaaS world, everything is available on any device.
Correct.
So this is not specific. This is not something that you can restrict to an IP or a VPN tunnel or a corporate network. You can access it on your mobile, on your personal laptop. This can be accessed anywhere. Now, with that said, securing data at that scale, securing data in where you have multiple input devices, it's important. And like you said, security and convincing the customers and showing the capability that and showing the investments that Darwinbox made on security is very important. And that also includes compliance checks, right? So there are a lot of compliance bodies who come and audit the system, and it happens every quarter, right? Who come audit the system, look at how we build our machines, build our security layers, build our software development layers. And having this compliance checks is important, and this takes a lot of time for us to speak with our customers, get them understand how the data is private and secure, and especially with all the new compliances like GDPR, IDPR, which is coming up. It is very important for us to handle data with care, right? How do we treat PII data? How do we treat transactional data? How do we encrypt? How do we decrypt? These things are important, and it's very important for an organization, especially a SaaS organization, to display that on a paper, right? Display that in a compliance report, and give some level of confidence to customers that okay, your data is secure. It's in cloud, but it is secure.
Okay,
right? That takes a lot of.
Okay, well said. Pravanjan, over to you. Customers and their thought processes. You work with some of the largest retailers in the world. What do they think?
As I was saying that whether you're a startup or whether you're a large company, if you're selling to enterprises, you pretty much need it on the slide number 2, right? So on the sales deck and pretty much everywhere, right? So I think because we deal with also a lot of consumer data, I was mentioning, it's super important to convince the customer on the first meeting itself that we are a secure platform, and also not just security. If something happens, and then how do you recover from some of that, right? So giving that confidence from the day one is super important to our customers. Pretty much in the process, our InfoSec team is also pretty much it gets involved between the sales process to the post-sales process. So I think customers demand it, and it's better to that proactively convey that information what you do.
Okay, Hari, would that be an approach also? Very nice. You're also engaging the business, like Pravanjan. Business teams also need to be engaged in the security conversation. Is that something that you need to train your business teams to think about, or do they find it difficult? Is that where you also get involved in business discussions while selling to clients?
I mean, certainly the business teams, they do a good amount of handling this at their end, and there are many times where I get involved as well. And for sure, during the sales process, the security and the compliance is, especially dealing with enterprises, it's a sort of a table stakes. Like even if they don't mention it, we know for a fact that they're going to ask just before signing the contract, and it actually adds a lot of pressure for the team because the deal is almost closed, everyone is happy, but they won't sign because the InfoSec is not yet done.
So why did they throw the googly in the end, just before the contract, just to test you guys?
It's not a googly. Now we know it. This is what it is. We are able, at least it's googly when we started. We are like, why is this 300 questions in this Excel suddenly given to us? We were hoping it will come today. Now probably that's what it is. It's become a part of the table stakes. Now it's even better because we have multiple, like say there is programs like your ISO, SOC 2, and CAIQ and other things. We send a bunch of documents with every answer still saying, we are here, we are compliant, this is all our things. If you need more, let us know. We are happy to answer. So it's even started from our end because we know anyway we're going to get it. Let's better start the first step there and make sure that's out of the way early on. So we try to bring in the InfoSec team or the compliance team of the customer as early as possible at some stage where the customer is comfortable with. But for sure, there is no way you could close a deal without this happening. Like this is a must-have at this stage.
Okay, Venki, before you sum this conversation on corporate customers, right? I want Nath to bring in. Nath, do you have security people in India, in your R&D centers in India? Is it a big department for you?
The number one investment in terms of, the annual capex or opex, right? The number one investment that we make is in security.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's an investment. Now you take away security, what you're taking away in payments is actually trust. User sitting in India, an exporter, selling to somebody in New York. Okay.
Yeah,
he is not going to trust. They have not seen each other. Okay. The only trust mark in between is PayPal. Now both are not confident about actually sending and receiving money. The transaction doesn't happen. Okay. So for us, it is a matter of, just why we exist. So the number one investment comes in there. The other point, I was just thinking as Prithvi was talking about is where do you really, or Hari, as he said, we place a lot of importance. Where do you put our CTO? Okay. He has to be in the board. Okay. Not just, below the board. So we have made sure that, is there. Number three, this is a 24/7 job. All of you, and I think everybody who's listening will agree. The only way to defend this is constant vigil. So therefore we have got infrastructure that is kind of spread out across the world, including India, who are constantly not only looking at algorithms data, but you have to have a combination of what we call as, human artificial intelligence, right? Human AI. So you need to combine both to be able to, kind of manage this at the scale that we are talking about. What comes to my mind, Vishal, is, when you talk about SaaS, it is not just one company who is depending, right? There are so many businesses that are depending on the SaaS platform. And what we have felt is, you can build a reputation. It has taken us 20 years to get here, but one mistake from our side, we are going to lose it. So that is what is at stake here. So it is kind of, I cannot emphasize how important the topic that we are talking about.
Thanks, Nathan. I want to ask Venki to sum this up. The common theme is it should be the second slide in your business conversation. Right?
Yeah. I would sum it up because we sell security solutions, right? And I sell application security solutions and products. And what I see, and we started the business selling to enterprises, large enterprises, banks. And when we built the product and started selling to them, the driver for procuring us and using our product was compliance, security risk mitigation. My biggest growth is coming from SaaS companies adopting it. And typically in enterprise, I used to deal with a CISO and a risk team and a security analyst. Whereas in a SaaS company, the trigger for buying is coming from the CEO, because he's saying, "Mera sales atak gaya." Because in my sales conversations, they are asking me, what is it you are doing about my SaaS application security? Because they are putting the trust on us. So the trigger point of the conversation is not risk mitigation, but eliminating the barriers for sale. So it becomes a much more quicker journey to show the value proposition. And the second thing is the decision making. It's typically the check and decision making is done by the founder, CEO, and CTO, right? And they look at it as an enabler for their business, because by enabling this and showing this report, instead of me telling the customer, trust me, I am giving you the SaaS application. Within this SaaS application, you can click on this button and get the security report for your data. And it is not me providing it, it is third party, which is a reputed company like Induspace providing it, and it builds trust for them. And that has been, some people in the panelists, Darwin Box or others can probably endorse to their experience on this as well, because it enables sales more than just
Yeah, I want to take these questions of business and efficiency, the next part, because it's 30 minutes and there are some audience questions and some of them have asked serious questions, and I'm going to open it up to all panelists. You guys take it as you wish, but it's interesting. This is Sujit Bhaskaran, who says, I'm very clear. I have a startup. He's very clear about why security is important from you guys. He's very clear about why you have to address the cultural aspects. Okay, after you solve them, he wants to know details like, what is the security framework that I build my entire platform on? What is the security architecture? What are the tools and processes that I can deploy in signups, logins, and KYCs? How do I secure the data? Does data encryption help? What else should I do to secure my SaaS product? What are the costs involved if I'm a young startup? Who wants to take this? You want to go first? Venki, let's give them a chance. Let's give our panelists a chance.
I can take.
Okay, go on.
I can take that. It pretty much looks like the story for me 4 years back. So, as a startup, I understand your concentration would be on building the features and selling it to your
Yes.
customers, right? But security is not an investment that you do on a later stage. I'll just speak about three things, right? One,
Yes, please.
in a SaaS world, who are you integrating with? Your partners, right? Your vendors, and you need to ensure that you are partnering with a company or an organization or a product which is equally secure or equally taking enough or equally putting enough investments in your security.
Okay.
And two, while you're writing an API or building an application, it's important for you to think about security. Think about how it's going to use your customers' data. Probably 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line. And three, cost and security are two different things. You can get solutions. You can build solutions for security with open sources, right? Something like Waju. It's a good
Right.
solution for
Right.
endpoint security, right? These things are free, and cost and security are not tied together, and you can build solutions in a cost-effective way. Later scale it with the scale that you will be seeing in the future, right? So, in short, what I'm trying to say is security should be part of your architecture, part of your product development right from day one. Like any SaaS product, you build it for scale, you build it for agility. Include security as part of your product development architecture, right? So that's all I would like to say.
Interesting. Ramajan, you want to take over?
Yeah, I think the question was, also covered as per the framework. So I think as a startup, probably the first thing that you should look at, I think for startups, priorities are important. First is the perimeter. I think look at what is exposed outside, try to minimize that. Second is assume that the first level somebody breaks into the first level. How do you protect your data, which is at the second level? When somebody hacks into your web servers, is your data protected? So that's where the DB encryption and some of that definitely helps. Then comes your infrastructure security. Then comes the network security. So I mean, it's definitely a longer framework, but in terms of cost, I would say that it's definitely there are very, very expensive tools also available, and there are pretty much a lot of smart work that you can do depending on your domain, depending on your application. It's not very difficult to secure your perimeters as such by doing some smart work and smart searches on the internet. The framework has to look at perimeter, infrastructure, network in that order, I would say, and obviously assume first level breakages happen. How do you protect your data at the second level and minimize your damage? All right.
That's well said. That's really well said. And there's so many things when you look at security. Hari, this Bhaskar talked about sign-ups, logins, KYCs. How do I secure this data? Encryption. What I mean. There's so much to consider when it looks at security. Go on, Hari.
It certainly feels overwhelming, especially when you're just starting, and there are multiple aspects of it and multiple ways to look at this, right? I think the way at least I learned this is probably along with our customers and filling in all the forms and so on. In fact, we did this I don't know whether I can call it as a fun exercise. We asked all the engineers to fill in their own version of the CIQ. So this is a questionnaire with 300 questions. Go figure where HackerRank is right now and see how many questions you're answering it as no. And as people were filling in no, they came up with like, Hari, if we change this question can become S. Why do we have to do this way? We could change this and so on. So it came up as everyone aligned towards trying to do this. This was like one fun Friday weekend activity where we had all the versions. So there are multiple others, I think, right? Like I think there is a VSAQ, Vendor Security Alliance, and then shared assessments. So filling in these gives you a sense of where you are right now, gives you a clear picture of your current status. And as you keep filling these no's, and trust me, you will have some no's as answer. There's no way you would start with everything as S and everything green, and customers are okay with it. They need a clear plan on how you will change it at a later point. Like, is this a part of your roadmap? Are you planning to have encryption at rest if you don't have it now? So that's how people think. Doing that self-assessment, self-exercise probably is a good way for an early startup to start with.
Okay, Venki, your thoughts on this? Nath, I'm opening up this question to you too.
So Bhaskar's questions covered a lot of things, but I'm going to simplify it to, as a SaaS company, application is going to be the center of your business, right? There are so many other things, form, how you handle data, how you build the trust, all those things you, in terms of showing to the customer how responsible you are with collecting their data. That's a separate topic by itself. Application is what the customers interact with. Where the application is hosted, I can say with a lot of assurance that majority of the SaaS companies goes to public cloud.
Right,
Not
correct.
because of cost, but because of the agility it provides, right? Public cloud automatically takes into account a lot of network layer security, DNS security, all those things. But the application is a responsibility of the business. What goes into that public cloud is the customer's responsibility. So the starting point is, what is it I have to do to secure my application? And if we start there, I will break that down into what has to be done. You are securing your business to a large extent and then take it iteratively from there. To secure your application, you cannot just start looking at all the tools. It starts with risk assessment.
Basic. Understand your business risk.
This is the application. What is the risk assessment? This is the interaction point that people are having to interact with my application. Now let me do a risk assessment of this application, security risk assessment of this application. Accurate, surgically accurate, relevant risk assessment specific to your application, and what are the tools and what are the vendors I have to partner with. Don't try to do it every yourself. For the SaaS ecosystem to work, it is your responsibility. DevSecOps is a responsibility, but partner with the right set of it. So start with application security risk assessment, then keep it continuous. Don't keep it a one-time thing because applications are changing. So I will say two things. Application, your responsibility. Start with risk assessment, keep it continuous, and as part of it, start building in the partnership to protect it also on a continuous basis.
Okay, there's questions for risk assessment as well. I will ask all the panelists. Guys, give me some time. Nath, your thoughts on this, please.
No, so, my assumption is a lot of our startups, SaaS companies are based in India. So 3 suggestions for them, a little forward looking as founders, if they are listening to this. Is number one, keep a close watch on the data privacy law, which is supposed to be tabled in the parliament. Okay, I'm assuming that you will serve both domestic and international clients. Okay, this is going to impact. So you have an opportunity to think through at the design stage itself, as the law is going to come in very soon. You have implementation time frame probably between 18 to 24 months to be compliant. If you're in India, we have to comply. So think about that aspect. Number 2 is, like our panelist said, be smart about it, take outside help. I would strongly recommend, from my personal experience and as PayPal, Data Security Council of India helps you with security impact assessment and privacy impact assessment. Okay, and their DNA and their approach is to serve the small businesses.
So that's the Data Council of India. The Data Council, go to them.
Data Security Council of India.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to share it with you, Vishal, and you can just
I could probably tweet about it. I could probably tweet about it to all our users. That's an interesting thought. Okay, there's questions around risk assessment.
These are 2, kind of ideas. Then I've got one more, but
you got one more. Yes, pardon me. Go on.
The last one is, we have experimented this very successfully, and again to the startup community, we think we are all in it together when it comes to security. There's no big or small. So one thing to really be smart and innovative is, think about bug bounty program, okay, for your companies. Okay, I'm thinking bug bounty program.
So I hunt down the bugs and I collect the bounty.
Yeah, and get rewarded by the company. Okay, and you can have a list of vetted folks. Okay, and then just throw it open. Okay, at the design stage when you are building a product, and incentivize them to find the bug, and you reward them for it. We have been paying millions of dollars in terms of reward, but trust me, the amount that the problems that we have saved and made it bulletproof is kind of unimaginable, So I would encourage the startups themselves to try this out. Probably the group of Indian startups could actually set up this kind of a industry-wide program. Maybe the SaaS companies put together, It is worth it. Interest me.
Bug bounty reminds me of Clint Eastwood, really. I mean, that's fantastic. You're bringing all these kind of things in jargon and also, but it's the truth, right? All of you do have these. Hari, do you like such a system of bug bounty? Is it important to crowdsource for a startup?
Yes, absolutely. There are many actually even websites which organizes this bug bounty. Like I know There is HackerOne, which we use.
Yeah.
So basically, once they find a bug, you approve the bug, and then you can pay through their platform itself. We also, ship T-shirts as goodies along with, it's not just the money. You spend the money. You want to show off that you did something, found something in their website. Some companies even have the list of folks we found who reported security issues on their website. So there are multiple ways you can reward. The best thing is to respond. Like not many companies, right? Like it is a black box. When you report an issue, it takes a while. So the best thing one could do is constantly respond to them, keep them engaged. And in the early days, we just did T-shirts. Like people loved getting T-shirts in India. And you get a lot of folks trying out multiple different ways to break your system and reporting it in a very nice way, the professional way. And you could reward them even if you don't have a budget to pay them with money. Shipping them a T-shirt is not going to cost a lot, and that takes you a long way.
Pravanjan, this whole counterculture, in terms of bug bounty T-shirts is a very new phenomenon, at least 5-6 years into our country's journey into modern SaaS application. Interesting. And I see Prithvi also shaking his head. I'm sure he is also into this. So I'd like both your thoughts on this. Are these good practices for a corporate also perhaps to employ or deploy in their, because all of them are talking about a SaaS kind of an application, right? So over to you, Pravanjan.
Yeah, so we use a bug bounty program. We run it through an agency. It's called SafeAct. So that's embedded into the application itself. If somebody finds a bug, they can just go ahead and report there. There's a team that triages it, reports it back. Depending on how severe this thing could range from a T-shirt to some significant awards as well. Has saved us a lot of time. Has also gives people, somebody has found a bug, it's also rewards them with gives that credit back to them. So has definitely helped building and fortifying your application. So
probably hire them, Vishal.
Hire them too. I was thinking the same. I would go hire these guys.
Vishal, I have a point here.
Okay, go on, Prithvi, go on.
Yeah, interestingly, in the last 3 years, people are reaching out. I mean, we do have a bug bounty program, but people are reaching out, to my email ID saying, "Okay, we found this, and do you want to discuss more?" Now, I saw cases where at least one guy reported 6 to 7 peripheral bugs, the issues that are on the peripheral layer. He called me. I mean, he reached out to me on LinkedIn. I said, "Do you want me to help you? These are the issues that we found. Right? Do you want to take it forward?" And the community is growing big, and especially people in the SaaS world, the community is strong. And like Mr. Nath mentioned, and this is not just one man's effort or one company's effort. This is a community effort, and I see interesting things that are happening in the past couple of years.
Okay.
Especially COVID brought people together with all the increasing number of cyber threats.
Okay, gentlemen, you guys are popular. There are 50 questions already, okay? And I don't know which one's taken. All of them are technical. I'm going to try to get all of them out, but let's do this quickly. I'm going to combine a lot of questions. Guys, if I don't shout out your name, the audience, please don't feel bad. Don't troll me on Twitter. But here you go. There's this one person who says, how do you, I have a startup, the MVP is ready, but does it take money to have, to protect the IP of the source code? No, right? I mean, you don't need money. Somebody said money is not the concern, but just building for security doesn't take any money. Correct? One answer. Pravanjan, you want to take this?
I would say it takes some, but it's not significant. I would say, I mean, to start with, at least, you can start small. And security is a roadmap. It's not a one stop that you do everything at once. You can always start small.
Okay. Next question is even more technical. This is from Srinivas. He says earlier in his journey, startup journey, they're protecting the assets through at TCP/IP protocol layer level. And now now apparently he's hearing about terms like software defined perimeters, which is implemented at the 4th layer of TCP/IP. They want to know your inputs, all of you, all 4 or 5 of you, on your thoughts in the new STP, and are there any other alternatives? This is a technical question. Go on. Who wants to take this? Hari, Prithvi? Prithvi? You want to go for it? Go for it.
I can take this. So the solutions available, I mean, if you're hosted in AWS, there's Shield, there's WAF, it works on different layers. But again, threats like this are not static. Threat landscape is changing every day, and the tool sets that you need to adopt to mitigate these threats are different. So answer in short, it's not static, it is dynamic. You need to invest in technologies, you need to do R&D and implement solutions, but tools are available in the public cloud, like enterprises.
Okay. Hari, any thoughts on this? Pravanjan, Hari?
This feels like the interview question I might ask you when I want to hire a security person. But I think I'm going to go with this. Most of the times, it's you would end up using your cloud providers' best solutions, best practices. There are white papers out there where they publish saying this is what you need to do. So usually, if you follow those, you're mostly good to go. You never would have to understand it's good to understand the underlying how it works, but at least at an implementation and an early stage when you are trying to figure out product market fit and so on, you don't need to get into so much technicalities at that stage. Pravanjan, anything you want to add in?
Yeah.
Pravanjan, your thoughts, please.
So just to answer that, so software defined perimeters and zero trust networks are the new where the market is heading towards. You did not probably start with those. You could start with simple VPN solutions in the cloud. Definitely for SaaS companies, it's a little more beneficial for SDPs if you are selling to specific enterprises and you have probably a single tenant applications which you can really want to protect and give it to super enterprises. You could give only defined perimeters to that company. So it might be beneficial for some SaaS companies. But that's where the market is heading, but that's not where you start usually on a security journey.
Venkatesh, Nath, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think Prithvi and these guys covered it all.
Okay, here's a startup person called Rakesh. He's taking the product to market, but he's worried about the certification. Apparently, somebody told him about ISMS services. Does the reputability of the certification agencies matter to enterprise customers, or getting the certification done by any accredited certification agency will do for a SaaS product? Who wants to take this?
I can take this. One is as you think about this, you need to ensure that first is the goal is not to get the certificate, it's to make your process better. So the question feels a little odd where, okay, do I get the certificate from anywhere and you can call me secure? No, not the case. So whichever agency they go through, they have to observe those, why these are done and do it in the right way. If you are going to just get the certificate for the sake of certification and then give it to the customers, at some point it will come back and it will bite you there at a critical time. So it's better to go why it is being done rather than the certificate is not a goal for sure.
Okay, Pravanjan, you were going.
Right. So I think also a lot of startups would have this question that the certificates might be quite expensive to get it. So it's also as Harish said, it's a misnomer that you always need a certificate. You could always open up your security landscape to your customer for audit and get that through. As a startup, you don't want to invest in certificates. Certificates help preempt some of the questions earlier, but that's not the goal. So a lot of startups I've seen, they follow really good solid security practices, document everything, give their customers access to audit those, and they're good, right?
Okay.
And it's also important. It's also important to understand which compliances that you need to look for, right? And having an ISO certificate is not an answer to all of your customer questions. Having that in an Excel sheet or a document will also answer a lot of your customer questions.
Okay. There's lots of questions around SOC 2 certifications, and this is Gaurav who says he's going global to sell his SaaS. But do enterprises really want a SOC 2 certification?
Yeah, generally the data centers provide that. The data centers, SOC 2 is all about the data center you're hosted.
Correct.
And if you're hosted in a SOC 2 certified data center, you will just have to pass the link to that document. I come back to the question, as a SaaS business, most likely what you care about is the application that you're hosting there. And if you secure your application and put all your focus around it, a lot of the problems automatically get solved. Yeah.
Venkatesh, I would like to add to that. SOC 2 Type 1 and Type 2 certificates, these are not complicated certification process. You follow your standards and an auditor comes, reviews it and gives you a certificate. If you follow all the procedures, right, like encryption, storing your data, understanding your data classification, it takes like 10 or 15 days for the auditor to review it and give you a certificate. But SOC 2, it's a thing to have. for your platform. But like Venkatesh said, data centers, most of the public cloud vendors like Amazon, Azure,
Yeah.
these are compliant already. But if you want to assert your application against SOC 2, it's a 10-day process if you have all the procedures right.
Okay, okay, that's very interesting. Nath, you could perhaps tell startups on the best practices for security, right? From a PayPal's perspective, been around more than 2 decades. You'd like to tell us what are best practices that they have to follow?
I think the end goal, can you convert this into a differentiator? Like Venki said, will it help you close sales with your clients, or offer a kind of, assurance that, that is the kind of, standard that we can aspire to. We have been very lucky that, while we kept this focus, it has got converted into that proposition. So we have something
Right.
called buyer protection here, which actually tells the user that you use PayPal, any fraud that happens, 100% you are protected. Now, how we have been able to promise that is only because of this entire thing that all of us spoke about, right? So it's a journey, but some best practices that we have been kind of, very basic stuff is, not only at the design stage, you get in, it is not an afterthought, but security, like Venki said, or Prithvi said, how do you get to DevSecOps kind of an culture? What we have also found, a lot of value by securing your internal applications and who get access to what. Okay. Because, while the application and the SaaS might be working for multiple tenants and all that, internally, there could be so many supporting systems. Who is accessing at different points of time? So we are very clear that, we need to implement a 4I principle, very clear about data classification, who gets to access what, why. If you keep that, then what I spoke about, the insider threat cannot be eliminated, but you can reduce. And even if things go wrong, you can isolate the problem. I cannot overemphasize how much this has become an issue, that, most people can actually go out of business because thanks to something has happened internally. Some recent cases in India, you will see, I don't want to name the very young startup in India. On the payment side, something like, crores of Indian card credentials have been in the dark web, right? Brilliant company, but it is pointing out to a key being left open in on the AWS cloud. Possibly, what we are hearing, probably it is an insider kind of operation.
It's
And what
interesting.
has
I
impacted.
want to hold you there. Hari, Pravanjan, Prithvi, Venkatesh, does this happen because of employees or because the applications are weak, or is it because your public layer public cloud layer is weak? Because there is a question here based on that. Is that, okay, I am a SaaS provider who's got highly secure applications, but my enterprise buyers are, don't trust the public cloud. So based on what Nath said, right? When do you think these breaches happen? Why do you think they happen? Why do you think we lose touch with enterprises? Venkatesh, you should take this too and sum this up.
Rob, I think mostly it's application misconfiguration. It's not cloud. I don't want to believe it's because some malicious employees. It is something which is not given enough priority, not enough thought process while building. It is some misconfiguration where we believe like, okay, this is going to be an internal API. Let's just do it real quick with keys in the system. And once years later, we decide this API is becoming popular, let's publish it for everyone. And the keys are still there. So it is, tech debt, you're taking those shortcuts, misconfiguration. Those things are the majority where this happens years later.
Okay.
Added to
Prithvi,
that, most of the issues that happened in the recent past, right, especially post the pandemic, the issues like data leakage or data theft happened due to insider threats, right? And like what I'm trying to say is a misconfiguration in the level of access that you give to your database admin or your cloud admin, right? That can close your business, right? So it's a category of insider threat, right? Where someone may deliberately or probably due to a misconfiguration can just leave your database port open with default port open, right? That can close your business. And there's a 900% increase in insider threats in the last 7 months. It's threatening But the only way to mitigate that is to have a close watch and implement safe SDLC.
Okay, Pravanjan, some examples from your side on enterprises trusting you and saying, okay, we don't want to be on the public cloud, and the fact that where do breaches really happen? Is it the application or is it because of one bad employee?
I think Prithvi and Hari covered. It's primarily a composition of application misconfiguration or taking things a little lightly in terms of while building the applications, taking some shortcuts there, and a combination of insiders. I think that's the primary of the threats that we see. When what we see from external threats are mostly trying to defame the application or just bring it down or do something, but nothing really solid malicious. Maybe the application is down for some time, but it's not really. But more threats, bigger threats are coming from there. I don't think a public cloud is a culprit there. How you use it is important. There are obviously different capabilities that are exposed for convenience. And if you use that in your production systems for convenience and keep a key to yourself and to access the public cloud, then those could lead to issues. So I think design time, you have to figure this and not take it lightly. And that's where you can prevent the majority of the threats that we've seen in the last 1 year at least.
Okay, it's already 1 hour, can you believe it? And we have only 3 minutes left. And, quickly, Venkatesh, I want you to take this question on what is the security checklist for 2021 for SaaS companies. And I would like you to give the closing remarks, and then I'll sum it up and we'll conclude.
Sure. I think it's a good segue from the previous question also to give this checklist. You asked the question, why do these issues happen? It's like saying, why do crime happen? Can you point a reason? There are plenty of reasons. It's a combination of factors. So the reality is it is going to happen, and it can happen because of a variety of reasons. And specific to SaaS applications, an application related vulnerability, whether it's insider or outsider, some exploit, some vulnerability that has gone unchecked is being exploited. Now, as a best practice, the first thing I would say is, even though examples have been pointed out about business going out of business because of a breach, if we really drill down deeper, why they go out of business is not because of a breach, but because of their ability to handle this breach and having the ability to react it in a transparent, trustworthy manner. In fact, I'll give you one example. I have this peer review Gartner program. I have got some of the best reviews from customers when I have screwed up to those customers, and they have given the best reviews, not because they had a bad experience, but I was able to show them using my tools that I am gaining your trust. I am reacting this. Similarly, when you look at security, it's building trust, and you're proactively showing to them that we care about your business to us, and we are doing these things. And when shit happens, because they have these tools in place, they can also react to it, as opposed to the official statement cannot be oops. The official statement has to be right. So that's fundamentally one thing that business has to look at.
Venkatesh, let's ask everybody, Prithvi, Pravanjan, Ari, and Nath, okay? What is the one advice that you give to startups when it comes to security? Quickly. Prithvi, start with you. Go on, Prithvi.
Security from day one.
Day one, that's it. Pravanjan, what about you? One advice. You're on mute. Sorry, pardon again.
Oh, sorry. It's not if you get hacked or not, it's when.
That was interesting. Ari, over to you.
Make security part of your culture.
That's it. And Nath, PayPal, become a PayPal.
No, I would simply say that, security and privacy are two sides of the coin, include them from day one in your design.
Great. Venkatesh, closing remarks, and it's been a wonderful panel. Venkatesh,
I would do a shameless plug there. I would say for application partner with industries to take care of it. But having said that, secure your applications, you secure your business. And by the way, for everybody in the panelists, if you want to do a quick assessment of your application, SaaS companies, they ask what does it take to cost. You can do an assessment free forever, twice a month with our product. Just come to our website, register for a free assessment, and get a very basic assessment of security assessment free forever.
You're like a family doctor for security. That's wonderful.
After that, they try to fix something, or they come to me for remediation, they come to me for fixing. Then I start asking them to pay some money.
Yeah, but that's good, Venki. It's a very good one.
Yeah.
Venki, you want to talk? It's already 6, and do you want to thank our panelists? And I'll sum up.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It has been, the panelists, it has been very, very insightful. I learned a lot. I have a checklist of notes. Very insightful, very interesting for me. And thanks for all the attendees as well. the closing remark I would put is, for SaaS applications, if you secure your application, you secure your business. It is a sales enabler. It is not a nice to have, it is a must have. And if you really think about the benefits you get, because by filtering out the bad traffic and the bad actors, the overall efficiencies of your business by dealing with only relevant data and the unit economics improves, which is very relevant for SaaS business.
On that note, guys, thank you for joining this webinar. Application security is not just a tick box; it is a necessity. It is a culture. Otherwise, you'll be hacked sooner. And like our panelists said, it is the most important thing. So go check out Hari and his company, HackerRank, if you want to hire great people. Go check out Pravanjan and his company, Capillary Technologies, if you want to build loyalty and retail at scale. And check out Darwinbox to understand employees of the future and understand employee journey. That's Prithvi there for you. And I've got Nath, who is from PayPal, and we know who's from PayPal. We know Musk is from there and several other people. So you guys are wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Venki, for bringing these people together. All the best, guys, and participants. Go check out IndusSpace and all the startups that I've just mentioned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And there are no ladies here, but the gentlemen on the panel, lovely. Thank you.